In this tutorial, I'll show you how to make this reverse applique heart cushion. Reverse applique is a technique where the top layer of fabric is cut away to reveal a different fabric that's underneath. This applique technique is really pretty and it looks a lot more complicated than it really is. I'm going to be using an invisible zip to close my cushion. I do have a tutorial on my website for this same cushion in a different kind of style if you want to check that out. It's whatkimberleymakes.com. This cushion cover will fit an 18-inch cushion pad or a 16-inch cushion pad depending on how plump you like your cushion covers. I will leave in the description a list of what you'll need to get started, and let's go. So I've got a scrap piece of grey fabric here and I'm going to start by cutting that into approximately 5 inches square. And this is just a rough estimate. As long as the heart will fit on the scrap fabric, then we'll be fine. And we'll need to cut 9 of these. I'm just giving those a quick press so that they're flat. And then we'll take our heart-shaped template, and on each piece of scrap fabric we're going to draw around the heart. I'm going to be using a friction pen on mine, but it doesn't matter what kind of pen that you use. So we'll repeat that on each of the scrap pieces of fabric. Now, because I'm using 2 different fabrics for my cushion, I'm going to need to cut 5 squares from one and 4 squares from another. And these squares are going to be 6.5 inches. So I think I will do 5 in this one and 4 of that one. So that's 5 6.5 squares from my printed fabric, and now I'll cut 4 from my plain. So 4 plain, 5 printed. Place each heart centrally over the 6.5 inch square and pin in place. To find the centre point, you can fold each square in half in both ways, and then that would be your centre. And now with each square we are going to sew around this heart shape on our sewing machine, and you'll want to change your stitch length on your sewing machine down to maybe a 2. Then that way we will have a really good curve and we'll be able to get into this point. So start on the side, take it nice and slowly. And when you get down to the point at the bottom, stop sewing with your needle down, lift your foot and rotate. And then continue to sew. Go really slow around the curves. Take it nice and easy. And then again, when you get to the point at the top, leave your needle down, lift your foot, spin the heart and then carry on. My advice would be to make sure that as you're sewing, the line that you've drawn is going in between these 2 parts of the feet, and that way you know your stitch is going to be following the line. So I'm keeping my eye right on the edge of this foot so I can see the line going through. And don't be afraid to tug at your fabric as well to make sure it does go through. And that's what it should look like. I can take that pin out now and then continue with the rest. This can be quite a fiddly job, but don't worry if you go outside of your lines, you can always unpick your stitches and just keep going back over again. Just make sure you take your time. Now with each one of these, I'm going to really carefully cut out the centre of the heart, and I'm going to try and cut as close to my stitch line as I can get. So we'll make a small snip in the centre, cut out to the edge, and I'm using really sharp small scissors here, and I'm going to cut just inside of my stitch line. And be really careful not to cut over your stitches, like so. A broken heart, and that's what we'll have. So continue that with the other 8 squares. Now with each heart, we're going to push the scrap piece through to the other side, and then we're going to press. Now this can be fiddly again, so take your time. Be careful if you're using steam not to distort the square. So now you should have 5 printed cut-out hearts and 4 plain cut-out hearts. Cut 5-inch squares, 4 of the pattern this time and 5 of the printed, so the opposites. And these are 5 inches square. And what we're going to do is place one of the hearts over the top of this square. So you'd place a patterned heart on top of a plain square, and a plain heart on top of a patterned square. So just lay your heart on top and make sure that it covers the fabric underneath, and then we can pin that in place. So now they're pinned, we're going to sew around the entire side of the heart, quite close to the edge of the heart shape. So we're going to take it nice and slow, going around just the outside of the heart on a shorter stitch length as well. Go nice and slow around the curve. And just threading that fabric through. Stop at the point, lift your foot, keep the needle down and pivot the fabric, and then you can carry on. So now the heart part's all over, we get to arrange these squares now into our cushion cover, and mine is slightly warped, but I'm not too worried about that because I think once they're sewn together they won't look so bad. So I had 4 of these ones and 5 of these ones. And this is where you really get to see how the cushion is going to come together. Get out of the way. So we're going to sew these together in rows. We'll start with the top and we'll sew these 2 right sides together. And then the next one onto the side, right sides together, 1/4 of an inch seam allowance. And then we'll do the same with the other rows. And we'll just press them flat, not worried about which direction they go in. And now we'll sew our rows right sides together to each other, making sure to line up these seams. So that is the front of our cushion cover. So for the back, we're going to use an invisible zip in the bottom of the cushion. So take a piece of fabric you want to use for the back and cut it to the same size as the front of the cushion. So I'm just going to neaten up my edges too. Maybe a bigger cut in that. So I'm just using my ruler to measure. This line I know is straight. To close this cushion, we're going to use an invisible zip. Now you want to make sure that your zip is slightly shorter than the end of your fabric. That will make this a much neater job. And we're going to open that zip all the way and place it right sides together with the edge of the fabric. And you can pin that in place. I'm going to change the foot of my machine to an invisible zipper foot. And you'll see on the bottom it has two grooves. So we'll release the normal foot, pop the zipper foot underneath, like so. So we're going to try and sew as close to the teeth as we can. What the zipper foot will do is pull the teeth open. So I'll place the teeth under the left side groove and I'm going to move the needle over slightly towards the teeth so that the stitch is very close to the inside of these teeth. And just sew down as far as you can before you hit the zip pull. Like so. And then we can just test that that does close. We didn't go too close. Perfect. And now we can do the same thing with the opposite side. And we're going to make sure that our zip goes at the bottom of this cushion cover. So if we put this right sides together. And I'm just going to line up the backing fabric with the front fabric. And I'm going to make a note of where I started and stopped sewing my zip on the back. So you want to start and stop at exactly the same point. So this time, because it's the opposite side of the zip, we are going under the other side of the zip foot. So I've moved my needle over ever so slightly, just so I'm right up against those teeth. And you can just do a few test stitches to make sure you're not sewing over the teeth. Down to exactly the same point as on the back. So when you turn it from the outside, hopefully your zip should be pretty invisible. I'm happy with that. So they both start and stop at the same point here and at the same point here. To finish off the zip with the right sides together, pull the end of the zip up and line up your two pieces of fabric, and we're going to continue that stitch line from the zip all the way to the edge. I'm going to turn my machine on and off just to reset that needle. Find the end of that stitch line and then continue to sew. And this is what the outside will look like. That zip is hidden inside the seam. Repeat on the other side. And again from the other side, the end of the zip is hidden inside the seam. So when you're happy with your zip, we can continue sewing the rest of the cushion cover closed. pin in each corner. And now we can continue to sew around the entire edge of the cushion, but we need to make sure that we are leaving the zip open so that we can turn this through. Then once the final 3 sides are sewn, we're just going to go to each corner, snip off just the corner of that fabric. That will give us some nice, neat points. And just to note, if you're giving this as a gift, or maybe if you want to sell them, I would probably finish the back and put a lining inside of this cushion cover, but if you're making it for yourself, we don't mind about the scraggly inside. So we're going to put our hand back through that zip, and we're going to turn this cushion the right side out. And I'm going into each corner and just make sure that, push my finger in there, making sure that point comes through. And here we go. So I'm going to double check again that zip goes. Perfect. And it's hidden. I'm really proud of that. Maybe give it a quick press. And now you can insert your cushion pad, and this is done. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Let me know if you've made one down below, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Bye!